The story takes place in a small village called Harlos, where a young boy named Craig lives alone with his father. His mother passed away years ago, and the two of them spend most of their free time at the local church. One Sunday, Craig is asked to read a passage out loud during the service. He does it clearly and confidently, and without realizing it, he catches the attention of an elderly man in the crowd named Harrigan. A few days later, Harrigan shows up at Craig's house with an offer. He wants the boy to become his personal reader, and he is willing to pay $5 an hour for it. And this is not just any old man making the offer. Harrigan happens to be the richest man in all of Harlos. His house is enormous, but he lives there with only 2 staff members. One takes care of the gardens outside, and the other handles everything inside. Craig accepts, and the routine begins. He comes by 3 times a week and reads a few passages each visit. Tuesdays work a little differently, because that is the day Harrigan gives both of his assistants off. On Tuesdays, Craig lets himself in alone. The more time they spend together, the more Craig learns about the old man. Harrigan never married and never had children. He also walked away from his entire family on purpose to settle down in Harlos. Back in his younger years, Harrigan ran a large company, but he eventually stepped away from it for 2 reasons. His employees were dishonest, and they were constantly defiant. So now in his old age, he keeps busy with a small side business, selling scratch-off lottery cards called Red Devil. Anyone who gets lucky walks away with a decent payout. Craig, unfortunately, has terrible luck. He scratches off hundreds of those Red Devil cards and never wins a thing. 5 years go by like that. Craig is still reading to Harrigan, only now he is a teenager about to start high school. The new school sits in the middle of the city, so he has to take the bus in every morning. That school comes with a warning attached. There is a notorious bully there named Kenny, and Craig and the other kids from the village are told to stay out of his way. Craig also notices something else about the place. Everyone here is glued to their phones. The break areas are literally divided up based on which phone brand each group owns. Craig and his friends feel completely left out because none of them have ever owned a phone at all. It does not take long for Kenny to find his target. After class one day, he corners Craig and orders him to shine his shoes using a shoe polish kit he brought along just for the occasion. The whole thing gets spotted by a teacher named Mrs. Hart, who has 0 tolerance for bullying, and she shuts it down immediately. Even after being rescued, Craig does not fully process what just happened to him. When he gets home, his father asks how the first day went. Craig does not feel like talking about it. Instead, he just asks his father to buy him a phone. His father tells him that in this village, you do not need a phone to make friends. All you have to do is talk to people. Later that day, Craig goes to Harrigan's house, still shaken up. He asks the old man if he was ever bullied back when he was working. Harrigan tells him that he dealt with it every single day, and that experience is exactly what turned him into the hard, unforgiving man he became. In fact, it taught him to cut out anyone who never brought him peace or comfort. Christmas rolls around soon after. Craig gives his father a sweater, and in return he gets gifts from both his father and Harrigan. The old man hands him a Red Devil lottery ticket, and this time, after years of losing, Craig finally hits the jackpot. And it is not a small prize. The ticket is worth $3,000. As for his father's gift, it turns out to be exactly the thing Craig has been begging for, an iPhone of his own. With $3,000 in hand, Craig splits the money in half. One half goes toward his schooling. The other half he sets aside for something specific. The next school day, Craig practically sprints to the cafeteria. His friends have no idea why he is so eager until they watch him walk straight over to the kids who never look up from their phones, sit down among them, and proudly pull out a phone of his own. After school, he heads to Harrigan's house as usual. Before the reading even starts, the old man hits him with a question. He asks why Craig spends all his time here instead of hanging out with kids his own age, or with girls. Craig tells him he treasures every second he gets with Harrigan. He loves reading out loud because for 1 full hour he gets to speak boldly and clearly, and it gives him a kind of strength he cannot find anywhere else. On another visit, Craig shows up carrying something. With the other half of his lottery winnings, he has bought Harrigan a phone. Craig noticed a long time ago that even though Harrigan is the richest man around, he has 0 interest in technology. So Craig tempts him with it. He installs a stock market app that updates with just a few taps, along with a news app that works the same way. Harrigan is stunned. The newspaper he has been buying his whole life could never deliver information that fast. From that point on, Craig spends entire days teaching the old man everything about the device. How to make calls, how to set a ringtone, how to reply to messages.
I'm not answering my phone now. I will call you back if it seems appropriate.
I'm not sure.
He walks him through all of it, and by the end of a full week of tinkering, Harrigan is completely hooked. The old man even picks his own nickname on the phone, calling himself Pirate King, and from then on he is ready to use it at any hour of the day. But as the months pass, Harrigan's health starts to slip. It becomes obvious when an oxygen tank arrives at the house, something he now needs on a regular basis. Around that same time, Craig opens up about his dream of becoming a screenwriter. Harrigan does not approve. He warns Craig that the entertainment world is full of enemies and that he will have to face all of them. Then he pushes the boy into making a promise. Craig has to swear that he will always cut out anyone he comes to see as an enemy. 2 days later, Craig comes by the house like normal, but this time the place is silent. Harrigan does not make a sound. Craig finds the old man slumped in his chair, still clutching his phone. Craig shakes the body, and the moment he does, his own phone starts ringing. Harrigan had been in the middle of calling him. He never made it. Craig hangs up and calls his father instead. Before anyone else arrives, Craig reads one last passage out loud in front of the old man's body, which is still sitting upright in the chair, even though the life has already gone out of it. On the way home, Craig does not even notice that he has taken Harrigan's phone with him. Later, unable to hold in his grief, he sends the old man a message, telling him how much he misses their afternoons together. Harrigan is buried that same day. Craig tells his father he wants to be the last person to see the old man's face. Once everyone else steps out of the room, Craig quietly slips Harrigan's phone into the dead man's pocket. Harrigan is laid to rest in the same cemetery as Craig's mother. After the funeral, Craig is approached by the man who managed the old man's finances. He hands the boy a letter. It is Harrigan's will. In it, Harrigan has left Craig $800,000, enough to cover 4 full years of college, plus seed money to launch his career. But that is not what catches Craig off guard. At the bottom of the letter, Harrigan has added a personal note, saying that he misses those afternoons together too. Craig cannot make sense of it. How could the old man respond to a text message that was sent after he died, in a letter that was clearly written before it? He does not sleep a single minute that night, stuck on that one impossible detail, so he does the only thing he can think of. He picks up his phone and calls Harrigan.
I miss you, Mr. Harrigan. I appreciate all the money that you gave me, but...
He leaves a message saying he truly misses having the old man around. The next morning, he gets a reply. It is from Harrigan's number, and it simply reads, CCCAA. Craig takes it straight to his father, who tells him the obvious explanation. Harrigan's phone has probably been hacked by some prankster, but Craig is not convinced. Some part of him believes the old man is still out there, so he drives out to the gravesite. Standing over the grave, he asks out loud if his old friend is somehow still with him. Then he dials the number, and sure enough, he can clearly hear a phone ringing from beneath the ground. On the way back, he notices a fresh sign planted in front of Harrigan's house. With nothing else to do, Craig goes back to school, his head a complete mess. As the semester winds down, a girl named Regina asks Craig out on a date. But things go sideways the moment she steps away to the restroom. Kenny appears out of nowhere and announces that he has just been expelled from school. Kenny is convinced Craig is the reason for it. He refuses to accept the decision, and he takes it out on Craig, beating him down and leaving him badly bruised on the ground. Regina finds him and rushes him straight to Mrs. Hart. While the teacher patches him up, Craig tells her she smells amazing. She explains that the scent comes from an expensive soap she uses, a brand called Booth Bay. Craig gets home and decides not to say a word to his father, hoping to keep the whole thing from blowing up any further. Instead, he goes to Harrigan. He tells the old man everything, that Kenny beat him up, that he was humiliated. He says it out loud on purpose, just to get it off his chest and feel a little relief. The very next morning, a friend gives him the news. Kenny was found dead the night before. Craig is stunned. He goes straight to Kenny's house, where an ambulance is already parked outside. The details come together fast. Kenny had been drunk, slipped, and broken his neck as he fell face down. And he was still clutching a tin of shoe polish when he died. Nobody else notices it, but Craig does. The position of Kenny's body looks almost exactly like the way Craig was left lying on the ground after Kenny attacked him. That night, Craig calls Harrigan again. He asks the old man directly whether he had anything to do with Kenny's death, and if the answer is yes, then Harrigan can knock on his door 3 times. The knock never comes. Instead, his phone rings and the call is from the old man. A moment later, another message arrives reading ACCCX. Craig has had enough. He goes into the city, walks into a phone store, and asks the clerk to transfer all of his data over to a brand new phone. When he leaves, he puts the old phone in a box and shoves it in the back of a closet. For a long stretch, everything goes quiet. No strange messages, no strange calls. Craig starts preparing to chase his dream of becoming a screenwriter in Boston. His work pays off and he lands a full scholarship. Then he says goodbye to his father and leaves the village behind. In Boston, Craig learns to live on his own for the first time. He feels like he owes it to both his father and Harrigan to make good on everything they gave him. So he buries himself in his studies and keeps his distance from everything else, women included. Then his father calls with terrible news. Mrs. Hart has been killed in a car accident. She had been out on a drive with her fiancé when a drunk driver named Dean came flying at them from the opposite direction. The crash killed Mrs. Hart instantly. Her partner survived with serious injuries and ended up in the hospital. What makes it worse is what happens to Dean. He is only sentenced to rehab, and this was not his first time. Over the course of his life, he had already hit 4 different people with his car, and every single one of them died. Mrs. Hart is the 4th. Craig is consumed with rage. He wants Dean to pay, and after all this time, he goes back to that closet, pulls out the old phone, and charges it up. Then he calls Harrigan and pours out every detail of what happened. From then on, Craig watches the news obsessively, scanning article after article, waiting for one specific headline. A few days later, he gets it. Dean is found dead inside his room at the rehab facility. Craig goes straight to the facility and finds a staff member willing to talk. He pays the man $200 just to learn exactly how Dean died. The answer is that Dean choked to death in the bathroom on shampoo and a bar of soap. And then comes the detail that breaks Craig completely. The brand of that shampoo and soap was Booth Bay, the exact same brand Mrs. Hart used. Craig can barely process it, and for the first time, he regrets ever picking up that phone and telling Harrigan anything at all. That same day, one more message arrives from the old man. It reads, CCCX. Craig works out what it means. The CCC stands for his own name, Craig, and the X is a warning. It means stop. Craig thanks his old friend one last time and tells him to rest. The film ends with Craig throwing the old phone away for good, while holding on to his new one as carefully as he possibly can. So the moral of the story is never give an old rich man an iPhone, because one day your trauma dump might turn into his ghost murder to-do list.